What's good? Here's Russell Kenner. Today we're going to be discussing WWE Backlash. It just recently ended, man. This was an amazing pay-per-view. We're finna go ahead and get straight into it. What happened, all the matches, everything that happened. The first match was Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. This was a really great match. I really love what they did here. I love how they started off. They immediately started the match off with an instant brawl. No waiting, no, trying to build it up. No, it was an immediate brawl. They just start brawling each other. In the match, it was actually funny. During Solo Sikoa entrance, they was chanting "We want Roman" during the end of his entrance, which I thought was hilarious. The crowd was very electric throughout the night. The crowd was very hype, very electric. You could argue this crowd was better than the Puerto Rican crowd. You could make that argument. That's how excited this crowd was. But it immediately starts off with a brawl. They brawling. The match didn't even start yet. They're brawling on the outside. Nick Aldis ends up coming out. He ends up saying he had enough. You guys can't wait. You guys want to fight each other so bad. He makes it a no disqualification match. So the match is now anything goes. They can use weapons, etc. They start fighting. They both members of teams go into the crowd. Randy Orton is fighting Solo, and Kevin Owens is fighting Tama Tonga. They're both fighting into the crowd. Then they get back from being out. They get back towards like the ring area on the outside. It was a sequence where Kevin Owens used the Prime logo. Like it was like some type of like I don't know what the item was, but it had the Prime logo on it. He hit Tama Tonga with it in the head, and then he spit on it after he got done using it. I thought that was hilarious. Then Randy Orton and Kevin Owens dominated for a decent portion of this match towards the beginning. They dominated. Randy Orton hit a headshot with the trash can to Tama Tonga. Kevin Owens did the same to Solo, which I thought was very surprising because typically WWE don't do headshots. They typically, make the wrestler put their hands up, or they typically just hit the back or their body. So I was very shocked that WWE allowed them to use a headshot. But to be fair, it was using a steel trash can, so maybe that's why they was able to do it, because they're not going to do it with a chair. So maybe that's why, since it's a steel trash can, so that's why they was able to do it. But eventually, no. Later on, we got Kevin Owens ends up hitting a frog splash. Yeah, Kevin Owens hits a frog splash on the outside to Tama Tonga onto the table. Then Solo was in the ring. Randy Orton sets up a table in the middle of the ring, but Solo ends up reversing the move that Randy Orton was about to do, and he ends up doing the Samoan drop onto Randy Orton onto the table. Then Solo and Tama Tonga, that's when they gain the upper hand. They start dominating Kevin Owens. Randy Orton ends up rolling out the ring after he got dropped on the table. They start dominating KO. They end up doing headshots to him with the trash can. They end up doing headshots to him to the trash can. They got kendo sticks, start hitting KO with the kendo sticks. Then KO tries to come back, but Bloodline gets the upper hand. Then you get a sequence where Solo and Kevin Owens are in the ring. They're going back and forth. Solo sets up a table, tries to throw KO through the table, but KO reverses it and throws Solo Sikoa into the table. Randy Orton comes back in. He ends up, getting momentum. He has his comeback. He ends up doing his signature power slam. He ends up hitting the vintage Orton on Tama Tonga. Then he ends up hitting the RKO on Tama Tonga. Solo Sikoa, he goes for the pin. Solo Sikoa ends up breaking the pin. Then Randy Orton ends up RKOing Solo Sikoa. After he breaks the pin, Solo and Randy starts fighting on the outside. Solo Sikoa tries to do a Samoan smite on the announce table, but Randy Orton reverses it into an RKO on the announce table. That was very sick. You got a sequence where Tama Tonga and Kevin Owens are fighting in the ring. Kevin Owens is on the top rope. Tama Tonga tries to suplex him, but when you try to suplex Kevin Owens, that doesn't go well. Kevin Owens does a brainbuster through chairs, because before Kevin Owens was setting up these chairs near the top rope, does the brainbuster onto the chairs that he set up, that was very nasty. I know that had to hurt. Then Kevin Owens goes for the pin after he does the brainbuster onto the chairs. Then the referee gets pulled out from the ring. We're wondering who it is, and it's Tama Tonga's brother. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think his name is Tonga Tama. I don't really know how to pronounce his name. I gotta learn how to pronounce his name. But Tama Tonga's brother comes out, pulls the referee. Solo Sikoa takes advantage, ends up choke slamming Kevin Owens threw a chair, then Samoa spikes Kevin Owens, and they pick up the victory. I love this. I love what happened. Everyone was expecting Jacob Fatu. Unfortunately, Jacob Fatu did not debut, but they add another member of the bloodline, showing them as more dominant, showing them as that dominant faction that should be feared. This is exactly what the bloodline needed. I love this. This is a great way to show the dominance of the bloodline, but it also protects Randy Orton and Kevin Owens to not make them lose cleanly. So it works both ways here. And Tama Tonga's brother, I'm excited to see what he does on the main roster. They show Tama Tonga being that psychopath, unchained animal like character. I wonder how they're going to present his brother. I'm very excited to see. The Solo Sikoa is constantly adding members to the bloodline, constantly trying to get the numbers advantage. I really love this match. Was great. This was a great way to open the show. The next match we have is the women's triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Bayley. This was also a great match. This was a really great triple threat. The crowd was very hyped for Naomi. Naomi and Tiffany Stratton was getting huge pops, but all three women got huge pops. But Naomi, especially during her entrance, was very great. Her glow entrance, the crowd was going crazy for her glow entrance. But starts off with some early pinfalls, early roll-up pins. After that, Tiffany Stratton did a very crazy double stomp. She did this twice. It was a moment where Naomi was pinning Bayley, but she ends up doing a double stop to Naomi. Then she ends up doing it to Bayley right after. Tiffany Stratton, then it gets to a moment where Naomi's outside the ring. Tiffany and Bayley are in the ring. Tiffany basically dominated that matchup for the most part. Then we get to Tiffany was outside the ring. I think Bayley was outside the ring as well. Bayley was outside the ring. Yeah. Tiffany was on the ring apron. She was about to set up a move, but Naomi ends up running towards the ropes and ends up spearing Tiffany through the ropes. Eventually Tiffany gets the upper hand, and she ends up doing her signature cartwheel to a backflip to Naomi into the barricade. I thought that was sick. Then we got a moment where Bayley ends up doing a suicide dive onto Tiffany Stratton. Then afterwards, all three women are on the outside. Naomi, after she got hit by the barricade, she ends up recovering. And she ends up jumping off the barricade and ends up doing a neck breaker to Bayley. That was very sick. Then we get Naomi and Tiffany Stratton going back and forth. Naomi ends up doing a split leg moonsault to Tiffany Stratton. She goes for the pin, but Bayley ends up breaking the pin. Then we have a sequence where Naomi has Tiffany Stratton in a submission. I forgot what the submission is called, but she has her in a submission. Bayley goes to the top rope, hits her signature elbow drop onto Naomi. Goes for the pin. Naomi ends up kicking out. Then we go to the outside. Tiffany Stratton and Bayley. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton and Bayley. No, it was Tiffany Stratton and Naomi. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton and Naomi was going back and forth. It was a sequence where Tiffany tried to go over the Alabama Slam, but they kept on doing a cartwheel each time. It was like 3 times they did this, where they did a cartwheel like 3 times. Like each person keeps reversing it. Tiffany Stratton gets the upper hands though. Does an Alabama Slam onto the announce table, and then does the same thing to Bayley. She gets Bayley and does the Alabama Slam to Bayley on the announce table. Then she drags both women into the ring. She tries to do the double prettiest moonsault ever, but both women reverse it, and then they double team her, and they both end up hitting the 1D onto Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton rolls out the ring. Now it's a 1v1 between Bayley and Naomi. They're going back and forth. They're having a brawl. It ended very quickly. I thought the brawl was going to happen a lot longer, but it didn't. They go back and forth. They're having a little brawl. They're going back and forth with punches. Naomi tries to go for a roll-up. Bayley goes for a roll-up. Then Bayley ends up picking the victory off the roll-up pin. This was a great match. I loved it. It did everything it needed to do. It protected Tiffany Stratton. I said Naomi was going to take the pin, unfortunately, but someone has to. And Bayley ends up retaining, which she should. It's too early to take it off yet. But maybe around like SummerSlam, maybe that's when she could lose it. But this was a great match. This was a very great match. Now next, we got the World Heavyweight Championship match between main event Jey Uso and Damian Priest. This match was great. This match was really great. You could argue this was the best match of the night, in my opinion. It's a tie between another match, but you could argue this was the best match of the night. This match was great. Jey Uso, man, you could argue, and I would actually say Jey Uso had the loudest pop of the night. Jey Uso's entrance was electric. The crowd was going crazy with Jey Uso. The constant, that going up and down with the hands, the flashlight. His entrance was so amazing. I ain't gonna lie. His entrance was so good, it almost convinced me he was going to win. That's how great his entrance was. His entrance was amazing. This was a great match. But it starts off with Jey Uso kind of trolling Damian Priest. He starts off the match with telling the crowd to keep doing his hand thing. And each time he does it, the crowd is yelling yeet. Damian Priest getting angry, getting more angry and more angry because Jey Uso is constantly trolling him, and Jey Uso gets the upper hand early on into the match with constantly trolling Damian Priest. Then Priest eventually ends up dominating Jey Uso. They have a back and forth. Then we get towards later in the match, Jey Uso ends up going for a suicide dive. Yeah. JD McDonough ends up interfering in the match. Of course, Judgment Day was going to interfere. Priest ends up spearing Jay due to the interference. Then Jey Uso ends up kicking out. Priest sees that JD McDonough is out there. Priest is wondering why is JD McDonough out there. They're arguing. While they're arguing, this gives Jay enough time to recover. Jay and Damian Priest goes for a swing. Jey Uso ends up ducking the swing and ends up super kicking JD McDonough off the ring apron. Then Jey Uso ends up, I forgot what move he did to Damian Priest, but he did some attack. Then he ends up doing a Uso splash onto Damian Priest. Damian Priest kicks out at 2. Then Priest and Jey Uso had a really good back and forth. A good back and forth between punches and kicks. It was very great. The crowd was chanting yeet, no yeet. Every time Jey Uso punched or kicked, it was a yeet. Every time Damian punched or kicked, it was no yeet. Very good back and forth. Then Priest gets the upper hand, does a razor edge onto Jey Uso. Jey Uso ends up kicking out. Then Priest tries to go for the choke slam, but Jey Uso ends up reversing it into a spear. Priest ends up kicking out. Then we get Finn Balor tries to interfere. He gets on the ring apron, but Jey Uso ends up super kicking Finn Balor. Then Jey Uso tries to go for a spear, but Priest ends up reversing it into a South of Heaven choke slam. Jey Uso then kicks out too. Then we get Priest. Priest gets a little frustrated. Priest is mad. He can't put away Jey Uso. He constantly telling him to rise. Keep on telling him to rise. Keep telling him to rise. He keep on doing this. I don't know. He kept on doing this like spinning kick each time. He did it twice. He did a spinning kick once. Did it again. Goes for it third time. Jey Uso ends up super kicking Priest first. Then Jey Uso starts doing his kicks. He super kicks once, super kicks twice, super kicks a third time. Then Jey Uso goes for a spear. Then he goes for the Uso splash. Yeah, then he goes for the Uso splash. But he goes for the pin after he does the Uso splash. About to hit 3, but JD McDonough ends up interfering again and puts Damian Priest's foot on the ropes. Now, when that happened, I knew Jey Uso wasn't going to win. Once that happened, I was like, if Jey Uso don't win off of that, there's no way he's beating Damian Priest. Just because there's no way. It was like, because Damian, if he was going to kick out of that, Jey Uso wasn't going to win. And then if interference happened, I'm like, then he's just outmatched. Jey Uso's just outmatched. But yeah, JD McDonough ends up putting Damian Priest's foot on the ropes. The referee sees it. So it's a rope break. Then Jey Uso ends up doing a suicide dive to JD, tries to take out Judgment Day. Then he ends up spearing Finn Balor. But unfortunately, that costs Jey Uso, because Jey Uso goes to the top rope. This gives enough time for Damian Priest to recover. He ends up going towards the ropes and kind of yanking it to a degree to drop Jey Uso off the ropes. Then he ends up doing the South of Heaven choke slam off the top rope, which was crazy. Then he picks up the victory. He pins him 1, 2, 3. Damian Priest retains his World Heavyweight Championship. But after the match, JD McDonough and Finn Balor, they get in the ring and instantly attack Jey Uso. But Damian wasn't having it. He instantly pushed him off. He even grabbed Finn Balor's face, which was very disrespectful. And then Finn Balor, he's like, Finn Balor's trying to attack Jey Uso, trying to help him out. But Damian's like, that's not necessary. I already won. And Damian's very furious with them. But eventually they end up siding with Damian and they end up raising each other's hand. I've been saying this. Damian Priest will lose this title, but he's going to lose it due to Finn Balor and JD McDonough and Dominic constantly can't take his disrespect no more. And they're going to cost him the match, but they're going to do it on purpose. They're building up that storyline. I don't think they're going to do it to where Damian just lose cleanly. No, they're going to protect Damian. What's going to happen? in my opinion, is Damien's going to have a match. The Judgment Day are going to interfere, but they're going to do it on purpose. But they're going to purposely cost them the match, not accidentally, because typically they accidentally screw up. This time they're going to purposely screw up, whether it's against Drew McIntyre or whoever, we don't know. But they're going to purposely cost them the match on purpose because they're just tired of the disrespect, and that's how you kick Damian Priest out of Judgment Day. Now, I don't know what happens to the rest of them. I don't know if the rest of them stay, but that's how I see him losing that title. But this was a great match. To me, this is probably match of the night in my opinion. Next up, the match that shocked me, that surprised my expectations, I'm going to be honest. The Kabuki Warriors versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Now, I'm going to be honest here. This match surprised me. I thought this was one of the better matches as well. This was a great match. I thought this was going to be a swash match. I thought this was going to be a 5-10 minute swash match, but I was wrong. They went on and put on a great match. Now, I do find it a little disrespectful that WWE treat the Kabuki Warriors kind of bad, because for some weird reason, they made the Kabuki Warriors come out first and they made Jade and Bianca come out last. I get Jade and Bianca are the bigger stars, but your champion should always come out last. They did the same thing with Asuka a couple months ago when she was champion in that triple threat match at last year's SummerSlam with Bianca and with Bianca and Charlotte Flair. She came out first, but Bianca came out last. Like, your champion should always come out last. I don't care how big the star is. Your champion always come out last. It's very disrespectful to the champion to come out first. They should always come out last. It doesn't matter who they're facing. The champion should always come out last. But let me get to the match. It starts off with Bianca and Asuka. Bianca was dominating Asuka. Then we get a quick tag, which was very shocking because I didn't think Jade was going to come in so early, but she did. Then it was Jade and Kairi Sane in the ring. Jade ends up dominating Kairi Sane. She did like a double. She ended up doing like a backbreaker like 3 times. Then we had a sequence where Jade and Bianca did like this tag team move where they basically lifted Kairi up and just tossed her. Like they lifted her in the air and then just dropped her immediately in the air. Then the Kabuki Warriors ends up getting the upper hand eventually. We had a sick sequence on the outside. Bianca was on the outside. Asuka attacked her while Bianca was, Bianca was kind of, a little dizzy. Kairi ends up doing a crossbody from the top rope onto Bianca Belair. Then the Kabuki Warriors start dominating the match, start dominating Bianca, preventing the hot tag because they was building up the hot tag, constantly having Bianca get close to Jade but can't get to Jade, constantly making her not be able to get the tag. But eventually, the hot tag was going to come. The hot tag comes, the crowd goes crazy. She gets a huge pop. Jade finally gets a hot tag. Then Jade immediately ends up doing a springboard crossbody to Asuka and Kairi Sane, which I thought was very impressive. I didn't know she had that in her bag. Then she ends up doing a power slam to Kairi Sane, goes for the pin. Asuka ends up breaking it up. Then Asuka and Kairi ends up double teaming Jade Cargill. Kairi ends up, I forgot exactly what Kairi Sane ends up doing, but she goes for a pin. But the ref ends up, it was a sequence where Kairi ends up doing a move. She goes for a pin, but the referee ends up telling Kairi that she's not tagged in. But Asuka was still not coming inside the ring. She was still on the outside. So I don't know if that was a mistake by the ref or that was a mistake on Kairi, because they kept Kairi in the match as she was tagged in afterwards, and then they tagged Asuka in anyway. So I don't know if that was a mistake by the ref or that was a mistake by Kairi Sane. So that was a little bit of confusion there. But then we get a sequence where the Kabuki Warriors got both Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair both in arm bars, but Jade and Bianca ends up using their strength, picking them up, ends up power slamming both of them. Then after that we got a sequence where Jade Cargill ends up picking up Kairi Sane, and then she's holding her, waiting for Bianca, and Bianca is up DDTing Kairi Sane, and then as she DDT her, Jade Cargill ends up picking Kairi Sane up and ends up German suplexing her. It was a very sick maneuver. I really loved that. I would love for them to keep that as like their tag team move, because that was a very sick move. She goes for the pin. Kairi Sane ends up kicking out. Then eventually, then the Kabuki Warriors get the upper hand. Kairi Sane goes for the Sane elbow onto Jade Cargill. Onto Bianca Belair, I believe. It was on Bianca Belair. Jade Cargill breaks up the pin. Then Jade ends up power slamming Kairi Sane. Then she tries to go for the pin. Then Asuka ends up coming in the ring. Bianca stops her, ends up doing a KOD onto Kairi Sane. Then Bianca ends up pinning Kairi Sane for the victory. And now you have your new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. As I predicted, this is not a shock, but this was a great match. This exceeded my expectations. I thought that this was going to be a swash match, but it wasn't. This was a very great match. Now I will say this: in the match, it did look like Jade Cargill was a bit tired in his match. It was a sequence where she was not really moving. She was taking long. She was falling on the ground. Now, I don't know if that was part of the story, so I'm not going to judge it that harshly, because that could have been part of the story they was telling, because my Corey Graves, I believe, ends up saying that something about her being inexperienced. So I don't know if that's part of the story or that's just her being tired. I don't know. But this was a great match. This was great. This exceeded my expectations. This very shocked me. And I'm very shocked that it went this late into the card. I thought this was going to be early on, but I like that it went on a little bit later. This was a great match. Exceeded my expectations. And now we get to build up to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair potentially turning on each other, because that will happen eventually, but I hope they have a good title reign. Now we get to the main event. AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes. This was also a very great match. The crowd went crazy for Cody Rhodes. They was singing his theme song even after his theme music stopped. The crowd was going crazy. This crowd was very electric. Starts off with a good amount of rest holds and headlocks beginning of the match. Then it starts picking up. Cody Rhodes ends up getting his payback from AJ slapping him on Friday Night SmackDown. Cody ends up slapping AJ. Then we got a sequence where Cody Rhodes ends up doing a drop kick to AJ. AJ ends up doing a drop kick. Yeah, AJ ends up doing a drop kick to Cody. No, I'm tripping. Cody did the drop kick to AJ. Then after he did the drop kick, Cody Rhodes ends up doing a cartwheel and ends up doing his he did a reference to Stardust, with his signature pose. He ends up doing a reference to Stardust not last week, because yesterday AJ Styles did a reference to Stardust. Then we got a good back and forth between AJ and Cody Rhodes. Then AJ tries to do a slam onto Cody Rhodes through the announce table, but Cody ends up reversing it and ends up ramming AJ Styles into the steel steps. Then we got a sequence where Cody Rhodes tries to suplex AJ Styles on the ring apron, but AJ Styles ends up reversing it. AJ Styles ends up reversing that. No, it was on the top rope. My mistake. Yeah, it was on the top rope. Both wrestlers are on top rope. They're going back and forth. They're trying to get the upper hand. Cody tries to suplex him. AJ trying to reverse it. But neither can get the upper hand, and both just fall instantly onto the mat. Then, both fall onto the mat. Then we got a sequence where AJ Styles ends up hitting Cody Rhodes with the electric chair and ends up doing a springboard moonsault afterwards, but Cody ends up getting his feet up, ends up reversing it. Then we get Cody Rhodes gains momentum, ends up doing his signature power slam. Then he ends up hitting a disaster kick onto AJ. He goes to the pin, AJ kicks out. Then we get AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes tries to go for a suplex on the ring apron, but AJ reverses it. He ends up suplexing Cody Rhodes on the ring apron. Then both members are on side. AJ still's on the ring apron. AJ tries to go for a running knee, but Cody ends up catching him and ends up power bombing him through the announce table, which was very sick. I love that. Then we get both members get in the ring. They was counting to 9 actually. Yeah, they was counting to 9. Both members was outside. They're counting to 9. Yeah, they're counting to 10. They're doing the 10 count. Both members get in at the 9 count. Then we get both members going back and forth. Go back and forth with punches and kicks. Then both members end up kicking each other at the same time. Both members ends up falling to the ground. Then we get another back and forth. Cody gets the upper hand. He does his signature punches and ends up doing a bionic elbow. Pins AJ. AJ kicks out. Then we get a sequence where AJ gets the upper hand. And AJ did a very crazy 450 splash. He did a springboard 450 splash onto Cody Rhodes, which was very impressive. The fact that he's still able to do moves like that at his age is crazy. Goes for the pin afterwards. Cody ends up kicking out. Then we get AJ Styles. After he did that, AJ does a burning hammer onto Cody Rhodes. Cody kicks out again. But this time, Cody kicks out and won. AJ did the burning hammer. Cody kicks out and won. And then Cody starts doing his ends up getting momentum. He's basically powering up. He basically had a Hulk Hogan moment. He basically became Hulk Hogan for a second. Cody ends up getting momentum, does a Cody cutter to AJ. AJ, he goes for the pin. AJ kicks out. Then AJ gets the upper hand. AJ Styles goes for the phenomenal forearm. Cody ends up kicking AJ Styles mid-air. Then Cody ends up putting AJ Styles in a Kimura lock. AJ can't get out of it, but he ends up using his strength and ends up power slamming Cody. Then we get a Cody cutter from Cody. Then it was a back and forth. Cody gets the upper hand, and then Cody ends up running off the ropes, goes to the top rope, jumps off the top rope, and hits a Cody cutter off the top rope, which was very sick. He got some crazy bounce off the top rope with the Cody cutter. After he does the Cody cutter, Cody ends up doing a crossroads, goes for the pin for the 1-2-3, picks up the victory, and Cody Rhodes retains his WWE Championship. This was a great match. Great pay-per-view. Everything that needed to happen happened. Like I said, unfortunately, no Jacob Fatu, but another member of the Bloodline debut, and that should be interesting. This match was amazing. This card was amazing. This blew my expectations out the water. I knew this pay-per-view was gonna be good, but this is a great pay-per-view. This was an amazing pay-per-view. Everything happened. No match was bad. Every match, in my opinion, was great. Everything that needed to happen happened on this card. You could argue this was better than last year's Backlash, and that's saying a lot because last year's Backlash is held to a high regard with the Puerto Rican crowd. You could argue this crowd was even better. You could argue the matches was better. This was a great card all around. This was amazing. But everything happened. I'm very interested to see how Monday Night Raw is going to happen with the draft. Since since people got traded to Raw or SmackDown, I wonder how that's going to change things. And this was a great card. This was great. 5 matches was perfect. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. This was perfect. But let me know what you guys thought of this card. Let me know what you thought of the winners. Was it too predictable? Because I know some people saying it was too predictable. But me personally, predictable doesn't mean bad. It just means predictable to me doesn't mean bad, long as it's executed right. And I think it was executed right today. But let me know what you guys thought. Let me know who did you had winning. What was your thoughts? Did you like the winners? And yeah, let me know what you thought of this pay-per-view. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, that's it.